Alright, here's Wayne again. Still working on the 1948 Farmall Cub. This might end up being a lifelong endeavor because I keep making mistakes. I went through the hydraulic block here and put all new O-rings in, cleaned it all up, put a new screen in, did a lot of work to it. It was really hard to find good information on putting it back together. I have a manual, but the pictures are pretty cryptic and not very well, have been duplicated a lot of times and they're just hard to see. So I went online and I found a nice step-by-step with pictures. I do really well with pictures. And it shows each set of components and exactly where they go. So this is the best information I've found, and I don't even remember where I got it from. I think there's a tractor blog website that I belong to, and that's probably where this came from. Interestingly enough, if you can see here, this, let's see, I don't know if you can read that, but this little gizmo here, it's a check valve and a spring, number 30 and number 23. There's actually two of these. There's one set here that are by themselves, and then on another page, see if I can find this, there's a right here a number 30 and a 23 in this. You know, they're going in a different direction, but they hook in with this plug and this washer. And what I think happened is when I saw this picture, I thought the other picture was just the other side of it. Then as I was cleaning up the workbench, I found these two parts. And what do you know? They're that little spring and that little check valve. So there are indeed two of them. And I've left out one set of these out of this block. So in trying to figure out where I left it out of, I've decided that I put them in like this with the four pieces, thinking that this other picture was just the other side of it. But now I'm thinking that I need to go into the head, and there's probably a spot where these belong. So I'm going to take this plate off to get to the head end of the hydraulic block. And then I'm gonna, there's a picture that shows which hole these things go in. So I'm gonna try real hard to find out that. And let me get the right size socket. Be right back. I think these are 9/16. Yep. So I'm going to run these out and take a look at this. Boy, these weren't very tight. Maybe I knew I made a mistake when I put these in. There's a lot of bolts that hold this thing together. And they're all the same size except this one down here, it's quite a bit longer. So I'll pull these off. I don't think I put any gasket sealer on here, so this block piece should just fall right off of here. And then we'll see if there's an empty space where we can put this check valve. I feel kind of stupid leaving that out. I've done dumber things though, I'm sure. And again, this tractor has hydraulics, and these hydraulics never worked very well. They didn't lift. I mean, you could lift stuff and then it would slowly fall. And I think it leaked all over the place and it was just a real mess. Oh, there's one more under here. And I never really tried lifting much with this, although I mentioned the sickle mower. And again, that was probably the heaviest thing because it was cantilevered out, and I could get it on the ground, but I couldn't lift it up with the hydraulics. I had to, when I was done using it, I had to get a rope and rope it. I had to lift it up by hand and hold it up and tie it to the tractor so that it wouldn't fall over again. It was kind of embarrassing to drive down the road with a big rope hanging off of it. This was the wrong bolt to have it be the last one because there's a spring in here that's fighting me. Here we go. All right. So let's just take the gasket off. Set that aside. You can see all the little holes and gizmos and things. The biggest thing is this plunger here. This is the back side of the big plunger. That's what does all the work. So let's see what this says. The correct order for the parts with the left side of the assembly inserted into the head end of the block first. So this pointy end is supposed to go in, and then this spring goes right behind it. Now, it looks like there's already one in here, right here. So I might be totally wrong going in this end. Could be that this thing belongs on the other end, but let's look at the picture and see what it says. So here's the picture that matches the block itself, and it says pin 30 and 23 go in this hole right here, and that's this hole right here. So those are already in there. So you can see this actuate or this valve. What's it called? Control check valve. It's already in here. So we're going to have to go to the other side, and let me just make sure that I'm thinking about this right. Check valve. So this other part, let me show you a picture of that. It's called the check valve front end, and it's behind a plug. This is the correct order parts with the right side of the assembly inserted into the front end of the block first. Well, the front end of the block is the other end. This is called the head. The front is on the other side. So let me go look at the other side and see if I can figure out. Well, we can just turn this thing around. I think that side, I know exactly where that plug is. So let's set this up here. Get a flashlight. I believe that according to these instructions, check valve actuator. Nope, check valve front end is what it's called. So let's look at the front end. So it goes in behind that bolt right there. So I'm going to pull that bolt out, and I hope that what we find is the bolt and the washer are there, but these two pieces are not. Maybe we can just pull that out and then put in the pieces and close it up again, and close up the front. So let me go find the right tools to get that off, and I'll be back with you in just a few minutes. All right, so I'm back, and again we're going to pull that lower one out, right there, and it's a 7/8. So we're going to pull this out. And it doesn't look anything like the one that we've put in there. So we may have discovered another problem here that got these switched. So that's interesting. Check valve front end. Both of these go in the front end. Check valve actuator. They're actually both called the check valve actuator. So number 1, 2, and 3. Oh, okay, I took the wrong one off. This is exactly what should be in here. And let's see, there's another piece down inside there, quite a ways inside. Alright, so I'm going to put this back in. It's the upper one. It has the numbers of the parts that we're talking about. So I pulled off the wrong one here. So that means I got this one right. Just need to tighten it up and put it back together. And then we'll get the top one. Come back and tighten these later. So let's take this one off and see if it looks like we think it should. And I'm expecting this to be a short one with a copper washer. So in other words, it's just the plug, right? And that's exactly what those are the two pieces I put in there, and that's the check valve and the spring. So the check valve needs to go in first. The right side of the picture needs to be with the pointy end inside, then the valve, or then the spring, and then the washer, and then the plug. Let's just see if this looks like it ought to look. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. So what we're going to do here is take the check valve itself, and it's got a little pointy end on it. We're going to put that in first. And then we're going to put the spring in. And then we're going to put this plug back in that we just pulled out. That was a pretty easy fix. I was thinking we're going to have to take a lot of stuff out of here. But looks like we got lucky. I got lucky. So I'll go ahead and tighten this back up. And come back and tighten that up later. So now we got to put the lid back on this back part here. We got to make sure nothing fell out. Both springs are still in. The new screen is in. Everything here looks good. So we're gonna put the washer on. I'm sorry, the gasket. And this piece here. And we'll start putting bolts in here. All right, well, I'll put this back together, and then this device I'll consider finished, and we'll be mounting it on the tractor here before too long. And just to kind of show you where that goes on the tractor. You can see that plate right there. I'll take the chain off, of course, but that's where the that's where the hydraulic block fits. And we'll be putting that back on before we paint, and there's a little more degreasing to do on it and so forth, but we'll get that on. Once the engine is finished, it'll go on the end of the bell housing here, and again, inside that housing I've already see if we can get close enough to see it. Oops. There's a new throwout bearing down inside there. It's hard to see because of the light. And so that's where we are with that. So I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'll see you next time. We'll get back to the engine next and finish that up tomorrow, and hopefully move on to some of these other things. Thanks. Have a good evening.